You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, General Hospital fans, we have got confirmation for when Lulu Spencer wakes up, and also this brewing brawl between the Quartermain twins while we're all set to say goodbye to Sam McCall. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to dive into the mess that starts this week and carries over into next week that could distract from the funeral as we say one last sad goodbye to Kelly Monaco's character. And hey, if you're not following us, please click subscribe. So Lucky Spencer and Laura Spencer got promising news from Dr. Portia Robinson this week that Lulu Spencer's surgery went well and she is recovering nicely. And then Laura went to Lulu's room and basically tried to shake her out of her coma. It seems like a chunk of Sam's liver and some really aggressive mothering from Laura will do the trick, because it is confirmed that we have Lulu waking up at last on Monday, November 18th. Actress Alexa Havins confirms her debut is that date in a recent interview with TV Guide magazine. And as we've said here before, Lulu has no idea she's been asleep for years, and she thinks it's November 2020. Last she knew, she was waiting for Dante to tell him she still loves him and had planned to turn down the proposal from her boyfriend, Dustin Phillips, before he got blown up and died. And it's going to be pretty awkward because Dante should be heading to the funeral of the second love of his life, Sam McCall, who died after donating part of her liver to save Lulu. We're still waiting on those danged autopsy results of Sam's, but I'm expecting more than just simple surgical after effects. But of course, we'll see. Bottom line, Dante, of course, will be so happy for Rocco that his mom, Lulu, is alive. But Dante is in no frame of mind to hear an I love you from Lulu when he is just devastated and grieving Sam's death, especially not when Dante blames himself for Sam donating her liver to save Lulu because Sam knew how important she was to Rocco and to him. So, very twisted, very soapy outcome. And for Lulu to wake up right as we are either getting into coming out of Sam's funeral, I don't know the exact date of the funeral yet, it makes it even messier, and it could prove a real distraction for the mourners. Because let's face it, there's a lot of overlap between people that care about both Lulu and Sam, and saying goodbye to one and hello to another is bittersweet. And it's not going to be the only distraction. Lulu's brother, Lucky Spencer, is trying to dodge his dad duties once again and wants to take off back to Africa because he is butthurt that he couldn't donate his liver. I really enjoyed watching Elizabeth Webber chew him a new one at the Brown Dog Bar this week when he told her he was going to skulk out of town and that Aiden was better off without him. Liz gave him no wiggle room and let Lucky know that he's basically a deadbeat dad bailing on his son again to go off on another great adventure. And she's going to gripe about him to Dr. Terry Randolph this week also. However, it looks like Lucky's not going anywhere because we know Jonathan Jackson is on contract, so he will still be around when Lulu wakes up. And there's no way his sister is going to let Lucky leave Port Charles. That sounds well and good, but it's also bad optics because Elizabeth may circle back around to Lucky and tell him she suspects he's only staying in town because of Lulu and not for Aiden, and he needs to get his act together once and for all, And if Liz is going to let one of her absentee baby daddies back in her life, I'd much rather it be Jason Morgan than Lucky at this point, but that's just me. But the whole Lucky drama could also prove to be another distraction for Sam's mourners, who should be focused on saying goodbye to her at the funeral. We're going to get to Drew and Jason in just one moment. But first, speaking of funeral distractions, I want to talk about Kristina real quick. I know, there's a good chunk of you that disagree with me on this, but on the recent episode of GH, when she went to see Alexis and said she wished she died instead of Sam, there was just a lot of there that bothered me in the dialogue, and I again suspect she may suck all the air out of the room at Sam's funeral. Kristina again referred to the baby that was lost as Adela, which is a problem for a lot of the fandom because that baby was promised to Molly and TJ, and they had named the child Irene. And Kristina talked about having no purpose in life because she wasn't working at her foundation and wound up with no child to raise. That was just confirmation again that Kristina was never going to hand that baby to Molly. And that is very concerning because then it means that Kristina took TJ's sperm under very shady circumstances and was going to cheat him and Molly out of their baby. And for that and more reasons, I think Kristina may be a real distraction at her sister Sam's funeral. And even worse, if she acts out, Molly may dive in and we could get a sister squabble. I hope not. Alexis doesn't want it, but it is sweeps. So the safe bet is big drama. And now to possibly the biggest distraction at Sam's funeral, which should be a loving tribute solely focused on her and on Kelly Monaco's 21 odd years on the ABC soap. And this could come from the fathers of her two children, Rocco and Scout. So by the end of this week, Drew Quartermain and Jason Morgan are at each other's throats and in each other's faces. For many months now, GH has been writing Drew to be increasingly creepy and inappropriate, targeting much younger wife of nephew Michael. Drew is also sleeping with Nina while having the hots for Willow, and now he just got Willow into his bed. Sam's other ex, Jason, delivers a much-deserved beatdown on the new Congressman Drew Q in the foyer of their family home on Thursday. And you remember, Michael confided in Jason that Drew slept with Willow, and Mikey is worried that Willow has fallen for Drew and that their marriage is over. So it looks like an ass-kicking is in order, and I agree. Don't forget, Jason raised Michael from birth for many months because Carly had postpartum depression and she lied about Michael's paternity. So, Jason was his first dad and Michael was essentially Jason's first child. And so he's not going to let this stand. And after the bruising brawl that leaves Drew battered and bloody all around the face, it's hard to imagine that these two can be civil at Sam's funeral. And of course, this is likely how Nina finds out Drew slept with her daughter. And it's just a matter of time before Willow finds out her mom was also banging Drew. I mean, his congressional campaign slogan starts to make sense. Drew Q for you and your mom and your mother-in-law and whoever else, he can get to sleep with them. I cannot imagine Sam will rest in peace knowing that Jason had to punish Drew for this degenerate behavior while they're planning her funeral and while their kids are in the house. And especially not if Drew tries to use the excuse that it happened because he was grieving Sam. That is what it is, just an excuse. It happened because he's been perving on Willow since July. So again, very concerned about the number of distractions that are brewing while we have got Sam's funeral coming up very soon. And it needs to be about her and it needs to be respectful. And there's just a lot going on. And the biggest explosion I anticipate is between Drew and Jason.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.